Hi everyone, my name is Hannah. I want to tell you a story about how my sister and I literally conquered almost the entire city with our beauty. But our victory did not bring us much joy, and now you'll find out why. My sister's name is Mira, and we're the same age. She's a year older. Not long ago, we moved to a new state. Our mom was offered a better job, so we didn't think long about it. The memories in our old house were all we had left after Dad left. Our mother was very deep in herself. Mira and I were worried, but in time, the offer to move in came. At that time, we didn't even think about it, because it would be good for everyone, not just for Mom. A new city and a new life, Mira and I said dreamily. The old one wasn't bad, except for the last period. But as soon as we got to the new house, my sister and I kind of got a second wind. People there were different, and we weren't afraid of being judged. We started to wear our colors and clothes the way we liked. We felt free or something. It was cool. One day, as we rode in the car on business, I happily shared my impressions with my mother. Mom, can you imagine how cool it is here? Mira and I are getting popular, though school hasn't even started yet. Oh, I can imagine how interesting it'll be in school. But Mom abruptly let us down from heaven to earth. I advise you to focus right on your studies, she said very dryly. I do not need scandals at this new school. I'm not going to blush in the principal's office. But we weren't going to do anything wrong. Don't you dare. And that was the end of the conversation. In general, Mom was talking less and less. I was disappointed, but there was nothing we could do about it. And then school started. School started just a week after we moved in. Mira and I had time to meet a couple of guys and hang out. A lot of the guys were coming on to us, and that kind of fame was fun. After all, we weren't reciprocating to anyone. We were just growing in popularity. It was cool. At school, from day one, we had people who wanted to be friends with us and people who hated us. I won't say we were bitchy, but sometimes we had to be. In short, life was different now, brighter and more fulfilling, which was not the case with our mom, though. Whenever we came home, we saw that she was home alone. Once I went up to her and asked, Mom, why are you sitting on the couch from morning till night? You have a job here. Why don't you go? It could at least take your mind off of things. But my mother became even more cold and rude. It's none of your business. I want to just sit here. I don't want to sit here. It's up to me to decide, she'd say. Mom, is something wrong? Tell me. Maybe we can help you. What's wrong? Yes, something's wrong. In case you didn't notice, your father left me. We remember, Mom, but it's been over 6 months. We thought you were relieved. I'm not. Leave me alone. Her aggression was growing. My sister and I didn't understand what was going on. Meanwhile, things were going well at school. We were studying and actively participating in school life. We signed up for free sections after school, up to the theater, and we were preparing to perform in front of an audience on stage. The week before the performance, we came home to invite my mom over to watch our debut. She was sitting in front of the TV that night as usual, watching a show with a bored look. Mira and I timidly approached my mother, and Mira reported our performance, hoping that my mother would be proud of us. But her reaction was unexpected. Don't you have anything else to do? What? Have you decided to draw attention to yourself this way? Mom, what are you talking about? We're just participating in a show. What's the big deal? Can't you just be happy for us? You think I don't understand why you're doing this? You're just trying to show yourselves off in public. Mom, you're not serious. We don't need to. We don't suffer from social attention deficit, which is more than we can say for you. What did you just say? Go back to your room, both of you, and don't come out for the rest of the day, understand? Mom was furious. Her words hit us hard. It was hurtful and painful to hear that. Mom got up from the couch and said she would think about coming or not. Mira and I then went to our room, and my sister asked me what was going on with Mom. I shrugged my shoulders, and we decided that she was just depressed, and it was better not to touch her yet. On the day of our performance, my sister and I busily packed at home, unable to find one dress or another, running around the house like crazy. Then my mom came over and said that she had decided to clean our dresses and that she would bring them to school herself. We were very excited because that meant she was coming to watch. Joyfully, we rushed to school, where we got our makeup done and rehearsed. I was very excited. My heart was pounding. But the dresses and my mom never came. The show started and we had no costumes. The teacher started cursing at us. Mira and I took turns calling her, but my mom wouldn't pick up. I was ready to cry on the spot when suddenly, our mom, she came in with the costumes. Mira quickly opened the bag and was shocked. Then I looked in and my hands started to shake. "Mom, what happened?" "Sorry, girls, I gave them to the dry cleaners and something went wrong. I'm sorry." I jumped at my mom screaming, and Mira barely calmed me down. We had to improvise on the spot, but even though it seemed like a total failure, it still went well. The audience just exploded with applause, and Mira and I were the best. Everyone clapped, except my mom. She just watched silently. My sister didn't notice, but I did. On the way home, sitting in the car, we didn't even talk. And at home, Mom was even more aggressive than usual. She did a bedtime cleanup and made my sister and I go through our things and clean the basement. It was just awful. I couldn't stand it, so I went up to her, threw my rag on the floor, and told her I wasn't going to clean, that I was tired and wanted to sleep. Then my mom took my phone away from me and told me I was grounded. I stood up to her, and she said no right away. "I decide what I have a right to do and what I don't. Is that clear to you?" "You are my mother, but I don't have to listen to every word you say. What's going on with you anyway? Why are you acting like this? You can't even be happy for us."
"What do you mean?"
"I just called the dry cleaners and they told me that no dresses were brought into them. And I also found pieces of material in your room and scissors on the floor. Well, Mom, now tell me it wasn't you." "Mom, is that true?"
"I don't have to answer to you."
"What is wrong with you? Do you hate us? Why?" Mom cried, and then she started babbling. "For being young and beautiful." What? I couldn't even breathe. My chest hurt. Is this some kind of joke?
"Your father left for someone as young and beautiful as you. She's the same age as you. And me? I gave birth to you two, got old, and became so ugly, unwanted. No one needs me anymore."
At that moment, I suddenly felt very sorry for her. Mira and I looked at each other and hugged her. We cried too. My mother would not calm down. She bellowed so much that the whole house shook. Out of her came a long accumulated resentment and anger. The next day, my sister and I skipped school and took my mother to a beauty salon. She resisted for a long time, but eventually gave in. In a few hours, there was already another woman standing in front of us. She looked so fresh and beautiful. "Wow, Mom, you look amazing!" Mom almost cried, but feared for her makeup. We updated her closet and took her out to the best restaurant. It was probably the best day of the last year. Making a toast, Mom admitted that her actions were stupid and selfish, and also that envy is a bad engine, especially when it comes to her children. "Mom, well, look on the bright side of this one. You raised us to be such beauties that you are jealous of your own work." "That's right."
"I'm sorry. I'm so ashamed. But I really did raise you guys to be so beautiful. And I'm sorry that I almost ruined your debut performance. You were gorgeous, by the way. I'm so proud of you."
Mira and I were silent about one thing. We didn't know that my dad had left us for someone so young, and we felt bad for Mom. We posted a photo of us three online. Dad was our friend, and of course, he reacted right away. He asked how we had got so beautiful, and Mira and I wrote that we had gone on a date with Mom. My father tried to find out what kind of date and why the hell we went with, and Mira said that we went because we had found a better man for my mother than him. And then we blocked him. We made the decision that we would no longer risk our mother's health and happiness for someone like him. And that was the best decision.
Hi, my name is Rachel, but you can call me Ray. I would like to share a story with you, but I don't tell it to many people because I'm ashamed and embarrassed. But now I've reached a turning point in my life when I've begun to understand that sometimes some things in life do not depend on us at all, and all we have to do is accept them or reject them. I hope for your support. Write your opinion in the comments. It is priceless for me. Let's start with the fact that I grew up without a father. I've always, as I can remember, had a mom. I didn't know any other relatives, and it was perfectly normal for me to live like this. My mother and I had each other, and we didn't need anyone else. As time went on, I grew up, and along with it, I had questions about who my father was. But at each such moment, my mother reacted the same way. With aggression, she always called him a goat and said only that he had cheated on us, but how he cheated, why, and when, she did not tell. I knew it was bothering her, so I only asked about Dad 2 or 3 times. The last time, I got a slap in the face. By the way, this was also the norm at home. My mother often punished me, and for various things. For example, a poorly washed floor, not neatly folded dry clothes, and once I washed her white blouse and my sweatpants. I swear, I didn't even see that her blouse was in the washing machine, so I got hit so hard. I didn't go outside for 3 days after that because the bruises on my hands didn't go away. My mother beat my hands with a belt. Yes, she was always strict, terribly demanding. Each morning started with screams and ended with them too. And sometimes she screamed so much that she lost her voice, and then it was my fault again. I really wanted to be an obedient girl. I studied hard, always cleaned the house, cooked as best as I could, never went out with friends, as long as my mother was in a good mood. But every day I was waiting for the same thing. Screams, quarrels, screams, punishments. When my mother was particularly angry, she said that I was a burden that pulled her down, that if I wasn't there, she would be happy. How did that make me feel? Of course, it was terrible. I ran into my room after such words and cried all night. But then I calmed down and told myself that my mother was just tired. I still loved her, if only because she was the only one I had. Yes, we did not live very well. Sometimes it was barely enough to close all the accounts and buy food. That's also why we didn't allow ourselves much. But one day, there was a happy accident. Some unknown uncle came to our house. He called himself a lawyer and informed us that he worked for my mother's father and that he died, but left an inheritance in the form of a house for me, his granddaughter. It was a small house in another city. The lawyer brought a letter with warm words of regret that they did not communicate all these years, that he asks for forgiveness and gives us the property. I was standing in the other room at that moment and heard everything. How happy I was! Do I have a home of my own? I was so happy. I wanted to go to college, or at least move to another city and live, now that I have my own house. I was ready to squeal with joy. Mom signed the necessary documents and without really saying anything, took the keys and slammed the door. I ran out of the room happy, wanting to hug my mother and congratulate us on the purchase. Then I got slapped again. Why are you running? This is not your home. It's mine by right, and I will do what I want with it, she shouted. I begged her not to do anything wrong, but she said that I was underage, so she had the right to dispose of it without my knowledge. In short, my mother, as it turned out, held a grudge and resentment against her father due to the fact that one day they had a big fight and she left home. Grandfather didn't even try to stop her, so she didn't go back. Then she met my father, who, after finding out about her pregnancy, left, and since then, she has been angry with the whole world. I tried to persuade her not to sell the house, but she wouldn't listen. My mother sold it, along with my future, my plans and dreams. She felt that it was more important for her to close debts and loans with this money, so she did. And the rest of the amount my mother spent somewhere, but definitely not on me and not on the house. I have no idea what she did with it. The college that I had dreamed of for so long was also behind me, and at that moment, I realized that I no longer had anyone to help me. Summoning all the will in my fist, in my senior year, I began to look for places for a free education. I applied anywhere just to be accepted. I couldn't and didn't want to stay at home with my mother because it became more and more difficult to talk to her every year. We didn't have a connection, and over the years, my mother and I became even more withdrawn. Besides, I couldn't forgive her for doing this to me, to my future. At that time, I was determined to leave and take care of myself on my own, because it wasn't safe to stay with her. That's what I did when I graduated from high school. I still got into a good college thanks to tests, although I was not physically active. I did not play sports. I do not have a creative gift, but I am smart. I studied a lot and always did everything conscientiously. I was accepted to the Faculty of Physiology, which I was happy about. I told my mother the day before I left. It was a terrible scandal, but I didn't listen to her. I just packed up and left. Ask me how I lived. It was hard for me because I didn't have much money and work, but I got out of it, got into debt, sold some of my things, and made some money over the summer. This was enough for me for the time being, but then I got a scholarship. In general, why I decided to share my story with you is so that you do not give up and do not betray your dreams. You know, not all parents are capable and have the ability to take care of their children. This happens and we either accept it or don't. For example, I could not accept it and did not want to. Since then, a couple of years have passed, and my life has changed dramatically, and I am happy. And as for Mom, she lives in the same way and in the same place, still works and doesn't want to see me. But I understand that this won't always be the case. She probably needs more time to digest the information. Oh no, in no case did I leave her, as she says about me and my father. I just ran away to arrange my future. Is that so bad? What would you do in my place? Share your opinion, please. I'm waiting for your comments and likes.